Discover how one humble mom's daily journey led to an incredible lunch with a millionaire. A life-changing turning point awaited her. As dawn broke over the quaint Midwestern town of Maplewood, Jane stirred awake, her heart heavy with hopes and dreams. At 34, she was more than just a mother, she was a warrior. Every morning before her children stirred, she laced her faded sneakers and slipped on her worn-out jacket. Echoes of her own mother's voice flickered in her mind. Hard work leads to hope. And with that, she embraced another day. With one last look at the beautiful faces sleeping under the covers, Jane quietly slipped out the door. She arrived at the diner where the smell of sizzling bacon and fresh coffee greeted her like old friends. With nimble hands, she whisked the eggs and poured coffee, but her mind was always 2 steps ahead, thinking of Ethan and Lily. Ethan struggled in school, finding it easier to retreat into video games than face the textbooks. Lily, with her bright smile, needed braces, but dental appointments felt like dreams suspended in the clouds too far to reach. As she dished out plates to her regulars, the cheerful couple from down the street, the elderly man with a knack for storytelling, she couldn't shake the worry gnawing at her heart. Each cheerful thank you ignited hope, but with every plate served, the weight of financial insecurity pressed harder. Jane's laughter rang out amidst the clatter of silverware, an armor against the realities she faced. Later that afternoon, she volunteered at the neighborhood library, watching the flicker of curiosity light up Ethan's eyes as he turned the pages of his favorite comic book. Maybe, just maybe, he'd discover a love of learning she so desperately wanted him to find. But when Lily tugged at her sleeve, asking about braces, Jane felt her heart tighten. Then came the evening of the community fundraiser, a gathering meant to support families like hers. Surrounded by laughter and warmth, Jane felt a twinge of optimism, and it was there she met him, Arthur James, the retired entrepreneur. The room buzzed with excitement, a millionaire among them. They started with small talk, but as Jane spoke of her dreams, the hope of breaking the cycle for her kids, Arthur listened intently, his eyes shimmering with an understanding what few could. Their connection built a bridge between their worlds. Just then, before Jane could grasp the monumental nature of that moment, Arthur casually mentioned his community reform project. "We could use someone like you," he said, his tone sincere yet daunting. Jane's heart raced. It was a chance to make a difference, perhaps relieve her financial burden. But the cost? The risk of leaving her kids, her dreams remained on shaky ground. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As news of Arthur's invitation spread like wildfire through town, Jane braced herself for judgment. Instead, she was met with an outpouring of support. Her neighbors pledged to help with meals, babysit, even chipped in for Lily's braces. Was this community really behind her? Standing at the crossroads of ambition and love, Jane hesitated. Would she risk it all for this opportunity, a shot at reshaping her life? Or would she anchor herself to her family? As the choice loomed large over her, a warm glow enveloped her heart, whispering of love and hope. Would she chase this chance that could transform everything, or nurture the bonds she held sacred? Only the next chapter could tell. With the sun dipping low in the sky, casting a golden hue over Maplewood, Jane found herself torn between 2 worlds. Arthur's words echoed in her mind, tantalizing yet terrifying. The community's generosity wrapped around her like a comforting embrace, but the thought of leaving her children even for a moment filled her with dread. Would they feel abandoned? Would they understand? That night, as the children settled into bed, Jane stood by the doorframe, watching their peaceful faces. She traced the outline of Lily's freckled cheeks and Ethan's tousled hair, her heart swelling with love and fear. She wanted to believe that accepting Arthur's offer could give them a better life, a future free from the shackles of worry. But what if stepping into the unknown meant losing the love she held so dear? The decisions weighed heavy on her. She crawled into bed, thoughts racing. How could she talk to the kids? How could she explain leaving them, even if it were to chase a dream meant to uplift them all? The next morning brought a light drizzle that seemed to echo the turmoil in her heart. At the diner, the clank of coffee cups and the chatter of customers surrounded her like a comforting blanket. Yet the laughter felt muted, the clatter a distant sound. She served pancakes, eggs, and the usual smiles, but inside she was a whirlwind of uncertainty. When her lunch break finally came, she pulled out her phone and stared at Arthur's name. Should she call? Discuss what it would mean for her family? Her finger hovered over the screen, pulse quickening. And just like that, she put the phone down and picked up a mug of coffee instead, searching the warmth for courage. If only she could articulate the way her heart ached in the depths of her being, how much she wanted to follow this thread of hope, while fearing the cost. Later that evening, she finally faced her children. They were curled up on the couch, buried in a blanket with a bowl of popcorn between them, giggling at a comedy show. The sight, so simple yet profound, filled her with a bittersweet sense of clarity. She knelt beside them, heart fluttering in her chest like a trapped bird. "Hey kids," she said softly, trying to inject lightness into her voice. "I met someone today, and he wants to help our town and us too. But I might have to take a job a little far away for some time." Ethan looked up, his round eyes wide in curiosity, while Lily paused mid-chew, her expression switching from laughter to concern. "Are you leaving us?" Lily's voice was barely a whisper. Jane's maternal instinct kicked in, and she felt tears prick her eyes. "No, honey. Not forever," she reassured. "It's just for a little while. It could help us all, and you know what that means, right? Braces for you, more time for me to help Ethan. We could make things better." But as the words left her mouth, she feared they sounded hollow. Ethan frowned, his brow furrowed in understanding, while Lily bit her lip, fighting back tears. "I don't want you to go," Ethan said, his voice steady but trembling. The truth lay bare before them, and Jane could see the doubt etching across his face. Her heart sank. "What if I told you it could make our dreams come true?" As Jane reached out to hold them close, the weight of her words lingered. The clock in the background ticked almost insidiously as she held her children, the moment stretching longer than it should. Would they see her ambition as love or abandonment? As she looked into their eyes, she wondered if she had the strength to take the leap Arthur proposed. The phone buzzed on the counter, a stark reminder of the ticking clock. Would she dare to plunge into this new chapter of her life? As she cradled them, the love they shared forged a fragile connection that held her in place, yet the promise of a new beginning tugged at her heart. What would she choose? With her heart racing, Jane finally made her decision. But little did she know, the path ahead held unforeseen challenges that would test her resolve. What lay beyond this moment of courage? Would she find more than just a job? Or something beyond her wildest dreams? Jane sat at the edge of her bed, the weight of her decision resting heavily upon her shoulders. Just a simple job, the words resonated in her mind like a siren call. Yet, they carried the potential to unravel the very fabric of her life. The images of her children laughing, playing, and sharing mundane moments with her flooded her thoughts. It was hard to reconcile a world without their constant presence by her side. As the sun rose the next day, a shimmering new day awaited. Jane had told herself she would reach out to Arthur and see what the next steps would be. Deep down, she felt clumsy and unsure, as if navigating a dance she didn't know. But she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this dance could lead to something greater, a brighter future, perhaps. The diner buzzed with its usual morning rhythm. Regulars filled the stools, an orchestra of voices mixing with the sizzling of eggs and the aroma of fresh coffee. But amidst it all, Jane felt like an outsider. The plates she served seemed heavier than usual. Each pancake flipped was a reminder of the life she loved and the life she might soon leave behind. When she finally took her break, she stepped outside. The cool morning air was refreshing, but it did little to quiet the nervous thrum in her chest. About to dial Arthur's number, she hesitated. What would he say? Would he still want her to take that leap? Just breathe, she told herself. Gathering her courage, she pressed the call button. After a couple of rings, he answered, his voice warm and welcoming. Jane. I was hoping to hear from you. Hi, Arthur. She replied, the words spilling out. I want to talk about the job opportunity. I want to know how it works and what I need to do. That's great to hear. How about we meet for lunch? I can explain everything in detail, he responded. His enthusiasm enveloped her like a hug, and for a moment, her fears melted away. As she hung up, Jane's heart raced. Could she really go through with it? Lunch with a successful entrepreneur felt surreal, almost frivolous. Yet, she felt an undeniable spark igniting hope in her heart. The day flew by, and before she knew it, Jane was sitting across from Arthur in a cozy cafe downtown. The place was a gem, adorned with vintage decor, and the scent of fresh pastries filled the air. As she glanced around, she noted the peaceful atmosphere, but her thoughts raced in anticipation of the conversation ahead. Arthur leaned in slightly, his blue eyes sparkling with conviction. I truly believe that you can help make a difference in Maplewood. He explained how his vision extended into community development, jobs, schools, and entire transformation. With each word, Jane felt a warmth spreading in her chest, a flicker of a dream igniting. How do I fit into that? She asked, her voice edged with uncertainty. You have passion, Jane. The people in Maplewood respect you. With your heart in this, you can inspire others, he replied earnestly. For the first time, the possibility didn't seem so distant. Still, a shadow of doubt loomed. But what if I'm not enough if it all falls apart? The doubt burned at her, gnawing at her spirit. Arthur smiled gently, as if seeing the very turmoil within her. Every change starts small. You won't fail. You'll grow. With those words, Jane found her resolve strengthening. Perhaps it was time to step beyond the familiar. And yet, even as she drove home, the weight of the unknown lingered. Once back in Maplewood, she walked into her house, her heart racing with both excitement and fear. As she turned to her children, she felt a swelling optimism. But just as hope began to take root, a knock sounded on the door. Her stomach dropped. Could it be the consequences of her decision already knocking at her door? With a deep breath, she answered, a mix of anticipation and dread flowing through her. What awaited her on the other side? Would she find her dreams or face the reality of her choices, perhaps both? The door swung open, and Jane stood face to face with a stranger. A tall man, sharply dressed, stood with a clipboard in hand and an eager smile plastered on his face. Hello, ma'am. I'm with Maplewood Realty. I hope I'm not intruding, he said, glancing behind her into the house. Oh, how can I help you? Her heart raced, but she knew unsettling surprises were part of small-town life. She stepped back, inviting him in but holding her breath, uncertain if this was news that would lift her or weigh her down. Actually, I've been sent to gauge interest in some upcoming opportunities in your neighborhood, he said, enthusiastically flipping through his notes. With the changes coming soon, we're offering special incentives for families interested in marketing their properties. Have you considered selling? Jane's mind swirled. Selling? The shell of the familiar home echoed with laughter and the scent of old memories. It had cradled her dreams, her struggles, and her children's laughter. No, I haven't thought about that, she replied, her voice quavering. Totally understandable. But think about it. With new developments going on, you could capitalize on your property's worth. It might just give you a fresh start in a new place. His words fell like branches in a storm, hard, unyielding, each one a potential blow to her already quaking resolve. Fresh starts sounded beautiful, but the thought of leaving her memories behind? I appreciate your offer, but I really love this home, she stammered, shaking her head slightly. Just think it over. I'll leave my card. He extended his hand, which held not just a business card but also a reminder of the rapid changes that could corner her into decisions she wasn't ready to make. Thank you, I will, she said, taking the card, its surface smooth and weighty. He nodded and stepped back, waving as he walked away. Alone again, Jane's pulse strummed loudly in her ears. What was she doing, entertaining thoughts of a job that could upend her life and listening to calls for selling the only home her children knew? Hadn't she just glimpsed the potential future she yearned for? She returned to the living room, where her kids were coloring on the floor, laughter echoing as they chattered about their day. Their innocence tugged at her heart, and for a moment, Jane felt time freeze. Imagining their faces without this home squeezed her chest like a vice. A small tug at her skirt brought her back. Her youngest, Sophie, looked up with bright eyes. "Mommy, can we go to the park later?" "Of course, sweetheart. We'll go after dinner." Jane's smile faltered just a bit as the weight of her conversation with Arthur settled back in. Both the job opportunity and the thought of selling the house weighed heavily on her heart. That night, as she lay in bed, doubt twisted in her gut. She was teetering on a precipice, looking down at the unknown while trying to hold on to what was familiar. What if she took the leap? What if it fell apart? But what kind of life would she be building for her kids if she remained stagnant? Sleep eluded Jane, her mind racing with possibilities. Would she be brave enough to step outside her comfort zone? Or would she cling to the safety of her beloved Maplewood, watching opportunities slip through her fingers? Morning light filtered through the curtains, and with it came sudden clarity. She resolved to talk to her children about the potential changes. To include them, share her dreams, and show them the beauty of taking chances. But just as Jane mustered up her determination to face whatever lay ahead, another knock echoed through the hallway, making her pulse race again. Who could it be this time? Would it be more unsettling news, or were new opportunities standing on her doorstep again, waiting to be explored? The second knock was sharper, more insistent, jolting Jane from her thoughts. She moved slowly, her heart racing as she opened the door again. This time, it was a woman. She wore a bright yellow scarf and carried a basket filled with baked goods. "Hi there! I'm Annie from down the street. I thought I'd bring you some muffins. They're my specialty." Jane blinked, momentarily caught off guard. "Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you." The warmth in Annie's smile eased the tension that had built in Jane's chest. "Just wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood. I know you've been through a lot recently." Annie's eyes flickered with understanding. "I appreciate it," Jane said, stepping aside to let her in. As she placed the basket down on the kitchen table, the aroma wafted up sweet and comforting, like a hug. "How have you been settling in?" Annie asked, her voice soft, inviting. "Well, it's just been a lot of changes," Jane admitted, her hands fidgeting at her sides. The last thing she wanted was to unload her worries on this stranger, especially one so cheerful. "I totally get it. Moving can be a whirlwind. But sometimes changes lead to great opportunities." The way Annie spoke, with such belief, ignited a flicker of hope in Jane's heart. "Opportunities, yes. Like the guy from the realty office," Jane said, cautiously probing the waters. "He hinted at selling the house." Annie raised her eyebrows, a mixture of surprise and curiosity lighting her features. "Have you considered it?" Jane shook her head, feeling the familiar tightness in her chest return. "I love this home. It's where so many memories were made." But her voice trailed off, weighed down by the uncertainty of her future. "Let me tell you something," Annie began, leaning in closer as if sharing a secret. "I once faced a similar crossroads. I was so afraid to leave the comfort of my childhood home, but when I finally took the plunge, it opened up a whole new world for me." "What happened?" Jane asked, genuinely intrigued. Annie leaned back slightly, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I found an amazing community. I started a small baking business, and now I can't keep up with the demand. It was scary, but if I hadn't taken that step, I wouldn't be living my dream right now." "Wow, that's incredible," Jane said, caught up in Annie's enthusiasm. Maybe that's what she needed, a leap of faith. Annie smiled and nudged the basket towards Jane. "Try these blueberry muffins. They might just inspire you to make a decision." As Jane took a bite, the sweet burst of flavor overwhelmed her senses, and for the first time in a long while, she felt something shift within her, a sense of possibility, feet planted on the brink of adventure. "What if I open up to my kids? What if I do this with them, together?" Jane thought, her mind racing with newfound ambition. But just as relief began to seep in, another thought loomed over her. What if the kids didn't want to leave? What if their dreams didn't align with hers? Before she could explore that worry further, her phone buzzed on the table, startling both women. She glanced down to see a message lighting up the screen. From Arthur, the realtor. Can we talk again soon? I'd love to explore options that might work for you. Her heart pounded. Was this the push she needed? Should she really entertain the idea of change? As she looked up at Annie, the weight of her thoughts settled in her chest once more. It was a lot to process, a lot to think about, and another decision loomed on the horizon. Would she take that risk? Maybe I should give it a chance, Jane whispered under her breath, contemplating what that journey could look like. But would she have the courage to dive into the unknown? Or would she retreat again to her safe haven, hiding from her own potential? Jane stared at her phone, the brightness of the screen illuminating her furrowed brow. What does he mean by options? She muttered, a swirl of uncertainty clawing at her stomach. For a moment, she lost sight of the muffins, the warmth radiating from Annie, a moment of fleeting connection. I'm sorry, Jane said, her voice barely above a whisper. I shouldn't keep you. It's just there's a lot on my mind. Annie waved her hand dismissively, her yellow scarf dancing lightly in the air. This is what neighbors are for. Talk to me. What's going on? I just received a message from Arthur, my realtor. He wants to discuss options. What do I even want? Jane felt the words tumble out as if they had been bottled up too long. I love this place, but the reality is, I don't know if it's the best for my kids anymore. The memories linger here, but I can't let them trap me, can I? Annie watched her with sympathetic eyes, her smile fading slightly. It's tough. You've lost so much, and change feels like another loss. But sometimes it's a fresh start. Think of it this way: where do you see your family in 5 years? Jane's heart raced at the thought. I want them happy. I want them thriving. Yes. And that might mean leaving behind what's comfortable, Annie replied, her enthusiasm revitalized. You're not just moving houses, you're giving your kids a chance to build new memories. You're leading them into something beautiful. The whirlwind of emotions caught Jane by surprise, the tension in her chest easing just a bit. Could it be that simple? Just a choice, a step into the unknown? She leaned back against the counter, a new breath slipping in as she considered Annie's words. But what if they resent me for making them leave? What if they don't want to move? Annie's brow furrowed slightly, her voice steady. What if they do? Have you talked to them at all about this? Jane's shoulders slumped. No, I haven't. I didn't want to worry them. Worrying them means holding them back. Kids are stronger than we give them credit for. Open up to them. Let them in on the dreams, and see what they want too. You might be surprised. Feeling a prick of courage, Jane picked a muffin from the basket and took a small bite. The taste was rich and buttery, bursting with warmth and sweetness. Okay, but how do I even start that conversation? Annie leaned forward, her eyes full of encouragement. You start by telling them that you've been thinking a lot about the future, about adventures and possibilities. And then you listen. They'll lead the way. Just then, a distant sound echoed from the living room, the unmistakable laughter of her children playing. It tugged at Jane's heart, both pulling her close and pushing her toward the door of opportunity. Could she meet her children's laughter with the sound of their shared joy in a new home? With a new fire ignited inside her, she turned to Annie. You're right. They deserve to know. I'll talk to them. Just as Annie began to respond, Jane's phone buzzed again, this time more insistently. It was Arthur again. Let's not wait until next week. I have other interested buyers. Just a quick chat? Her pulse quickened. What did that mean for her decisions? Jane? You okay? Annie's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back to the moment. I think I need to see what this really looks like before I make a decision, Jane said, a sudden clarity overtaking her confusion. You've got this. Annie smiled, the warmth of her encouragement spreading through the room. Taking a deep breath, she nodded. Yeah. Let us see how my kids feel about it. I'll talk to them tonight. But as she moved toward her phone, her heart raced with a new wave of fear. Would discussing potential change inspire hope or dread? Maybe it's time for me to stop holding back, she whispered, her mind racing with thoughts of the conversation yet to come. And then, almost as a premonition, she felt the first real pulse of excitement as the night approached, both anxious and eager to find out what tomorrow had in store. Could this be the turning point she desperately needed, or would it only complicate everything even more? Jane took a calming breath as she stepped into the living room. Her heart still beat heavily against her chest as her children's laughter filled the air, a native song of joy that resonated deeply within her. Sophie, her 8-year-old daughter, and Max, her 10-year-old son, were sprawled on the floor, engaged in an elaborate Lego creation, their faces lit with concentration. "Hey, you two," she called, forcing a smile. They didn't notice her right away, too engrossed in their own world. But soon, Sophie looked up, her big brown eyes sparkling. "Mom! Look at what we're building! It's going to be a spaceship," Sophie said, her voice high with excitement. "Can I help?" Jane felt a warmth wash over her, distracting her from the weight of her inner turmoil. Max looked over, his brow furrowed. "You'll mess it up, Mom. We're almost done." "Oh, come on, Max. I can be the chief engineer." Jane laughed, her attempt to lighten the mood drawing giggles from both kids. They welcomed her into their creative world. As Jane sat beside them, her thoughts drifted back to Arthur's urgent message. What if the conversation she needed to have with them wasn't just about moving? What if it was about helping them imagine their futures? The kids didn't merely need reassurance. They needed to feel included in the family's next chapter. After a few minutes of building and encouraging their creative efforts, Jane decided to take the plunge. "You know," she began lightly, "I've been thinking about some changes we might make. Like moving to a new house." The air hung still for a moment, colored by the surprise on her children's faces. Sophie tilted her head, her tiny brow knitting together. "Move? But why?" "Yeah, Mom. We love this house," Max chimed in, instinctively defensive. A pang of guilt squeezed at Jane's heart. She hadn't expected them to react with such resistance. Taking a breath to steady herself, she continued. "I know it's a big change. I really do. But it can also be an adventure. A chance for us to find a new place where we can create even more amazing memories together." Sophie thought about it, her little fingers still toying with a piece of Lego. "Like a new spaceship?" "Sure." Jane smiled through the uncertainty. "Like exploring a new planet." Max sighed, settling back against the couch. "But what about our friends? What about our school?" "No one says we can't visit our old friends," she said, trying to keep her voice bright. "And we can find new friends too. It's all part of it, sweetheart. And I want to hear what you both think about this." For a moment, the room was quiet, the sound of Lego bricks gently clinking together the only noise. Jane watched her children, each deep in thought. It felt like the fate of their family hung in the balance, wrapped in that quiet moment. Finally, Sophie spoke up quietly. "Can we maybe look at new houses together? Will it still have a backyard?" Jane's heart soared at the question. "Of course. We can make it a fun outing. You'll get to pick what you like best." Max perked up at that. "And we can design our new room just like this one, but different." "Exactly," Jane replied, her soul warming at the thought of their united front. "We'll work together to make it better." The wheels in their minds began to turn. Suddenly, the fear that had held Jane captive began to dissolve, replaced by a growing excitement that wrapped around the family. But out of nowhere, reality struck again. Jane's phone buzzed again, prompting a new rush of anxiety. She hesitated before picking it up, the weight of what awaited her lurking behind the screen, a message from Arthur wanting to meet now. Could she really confront the possibility of change? "Can we finish the spaceship first?" Sophie's sweet voice broke through, grounding Jane in the moment. "Absolutely," she said, a smile breaking across her face, the shadows of doubt lifting as she leaned into this time with her children. And as laughter erupted once more, Jane realized she was on the brink of something transformational. But in the back of her mind lingered a question: would she embrace the change that was knocking at her door, or would she let it slip by just out of reach? The aroma of freshly baked cookies drifted in from the kitchen, mingling with the laughter that broke through the tension in the living room. Jane, still bubbling with excitement from her children's unexpected support, let out a soft chuckle as she glanced at the half-finished spaceship before her. "Okay, engineers," she declared, steering the ship back to the fun in front of them. "What's next on our construction agenda?" "We need more engines," Sophie exclaimed, her hands diving into the mixed pile of bricks, her excitement radiating across the room. Max, shaking off his earlier doubts, grabbed a bright red piece. "A faster spaceship to explore the galaxy," he added, his voice taking on a new energy. As the trio worked magic with their Legos, Jane grabbed her phone, biting her lip as she considered Arthur's message once more. The thought of that meeting hung heavily in her mind, like a cloud threatening rain. Just when she found a moment's peace, the weight of her reality crept back. She needed to respond somehow, but each time she reached for the device, her heart thumped harder. "Mom?" Max's voice pulled her back into the moment. "Are you still here?" "Yeah, buddy. Just thinking." Jane shared a glance with her son. "About how far we can go with this spaceship once we finish." "Really? What if we made it even bigger?" Sophie's enthusiasm was infectious. Their voices merged into a chorus of ideas, and Jane smiled, swept by the warmth of their creativity. She decided to forget the message for just a little while longer. After all, this was their moment, and those sweet, excited faces were what she lived for. The playful brainstorming turned into plans for a fantastical Lego adventure, each proposal more outrageous than the last. They imagined visiting alien planets and discovering hidden treasures. Laughter flowed, and for a while, all thoughts of impending change faded into the background. But inevitability had a way of creeping back. As they sat down to enjoy the warm cookies, Sophie's gaze shifted to Jane. "Mom, do you think it's going to be a good move?" Her heart fluttered. "I really hope so, honey. I believe it will be an opportunity for us to grow as a family." "But what if we hate it?" Max interjected, his brow furrowed. "What if we get lost?" Jane reached out, resting her hand over his. "We'll be together, Max. We'll face it all as a team. Just like we build this spaceship, we'll build our new home." Still, the shadow of uncertainty lingered, an echo of what lay ahead. The thrill of their fun adventure clashed with the weight of her responsibilities. "Remember," she told them, her voice filled with warmth, "every change can lead to something amazing. Just like in our spaceship, the best explorations come from being brave." Their eyes brightened, and she could see her words sinking in. After dessert, the kids were flopped on the couch, caught up in a Lego version of an intergalactic battle. Jane took a moment to catch her breath, but her phone buzzed again, making her jump. It was Arthur, urging her again to meet tonight. "Mom?" Sophie's small voice cut through her thoughts. "Are you going to meet with Mr. Arthur?" The question sent a chill down Jane's spine. How much should she share with them? Should she tell them he might make a big offer, one that could completely reshape their lives? "I need to figure it out, sweetheart," she said softly, forcing a calmness she didn't feel. "But I promise, no matter what happens tonight, we'll talk about it together afterward." Sophie nodded, but a shadow crossed her face. "Will you still be my chief engineer?" "Always," Jane declared, pulling her daughter close. She could feel the dark clouds swirling in her thoughts, but her children's bright spirits reminded her of the light. As the evening wore on, Jane stood by the window, gazing out at the stars beginning to twinkle in the deepening sky. What awaited her was uncertain, but she felt a flicker of hope. Change was imminent, but so was the chance for something magnificent. And as she turned back to her kids, their laughter filling the room, a nagging question haunted her. Thoughts. Would the choices she made tonight steer their family home to a brighter, new horizon, or would it send them crashing instead? The night deepened, wrapping the house in a quilt of shadows as Jane prepared to leave. The kids were still buzzing, their giggles interlaced with talk of rockets and alien encounters. Each laughter felt like a lifeline, pulling her back from the edge of her worries. But that phone beeped again, a reminder that she couldn't ignore. "Mom, you okay?" Max's voice broke through her thoughts, concern replacing the lightness of their earlier conversations. "Yeah, buddy. Just, checking the time," she said, forcing a smile while she tucked her phone away discreetly. With one last glance at her children, their faces painted with joy, she steeled herself. "I'll be back soon. Keep building the spaceship, okay?" "Promise," Sophie chirped, her eyes sparkling. As she stepped outside, the cool air hit her, waking her senses. The stars above felt like a canopy of hope, twinkling down at her. Each step towards her car felt heavier than the last, a mix of excitement and dread skimming her heart. This meeting could be pivotal. What if Arthur's proposition could really change everything? She drove into the night, thoughts racing. Ideas spun around her head like a whirlwind, visions of a new home, a fresh start for her and the kids. But along with that shimmer of hope, doubt gnawed at her. Is that what they wanted? Would they be okay with the change? When she arrived at the restaurant, its warm glow felt inviting yet intimidating. She hesitated at the entrance, the clamor of conversation spilling out like an energy hug. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. The wealthy crowd was a stark contrast to her cozy family world. She felt a bit like a fish out of water. "Jane! You made it!" Arthur greeted her, a confident smile on his face. He was dressed sharply, exuding the kind of charm that made networking seem effortless. She plastered a smile across her own face, hoping to match his enthusiasm. "Thanks for the invite," she replied, trying to push her nerves aside. As they made small talk, Jane observed the glittering lives around her elegant dresses swishing past, laughter flowing like wine. For a moment, she felt out of place, but then Arthur turned serious. "I wanted to discuss the opportunity we talked about," he said, leaning closer. She could hear the grind of her own heart as it raced at the thought. Was this really the moment that could change their path? They discussed numbers, projections, and visions for the future. Phrases like next level and innovative growth swirled around, but beneath it all, Jane's thoughts drifted back home. She envisioned Sophie and Max playing together, their laughter echoing in the living room. Would this potential business decision enhance their family's happiness or drive a wedge into their shared life? "So, how do you feel about it?" Arthur asked, breaking her reverie. "I think," she hesitated. "I need to really consider how it fits into our family. It's not just about business for me." He looked at her, surprise flickering in his expression. "I respect that. Family is everything, after all." His words struck a chord deep within her, and an unexpected warmth rushed through her. Maybe this connection wasn't just professional. Perhaps there was a chance for understanding here. But then the sinister radical of uncertainty tugged at her heart again. If she accepted this opportunity, would it mean sacrificing precious moments with her kids? Would they feel abandoned in pursuit of something bigger? As dessert arrived, Jane's thoughts drifted to the spaceship and the laughter at home. She craved that happiness, the simplicity of their world together. But what if this was also a chance for something more? Could pursuing her dreams actually lead them to a new kind of joy? Taking a breath, she steadied herself. "I need to think this through." Arthur nodded, his expression softer now. When she finally returned home, the house was dark, except for the faint glow of the lights still on in the living room. Cracking the door open quietly, she spotted her children sprawled out, fast asleep amidst a landscape of Legos. Heart swelling with love, she tiptoed in. A swirl of emotions flooded her: pride, fear, hope. Would they understand her decision? Would she find the right path between ambition and family? As she tucked a blanket around them, she realized her journey was just beginning. She needed to find the balance, the magic mix that could lead them all to where they wanted to go. What if she could make this work, as long as they all stayed together? But in her heart, a new question stirred: was she brave enough to make the right choice? Tomorrow, those choices would have to be made, and she needed to be ready. The morning sun crept through the curtains, spilling golden light into Jane's home like a promise. Heart racing, she knew today was the day she had to make a choice that would impact not just her future but her children's as well. After a restless night, the puzzle pieces of her life felt more urgent and alive than ever. She found herself in the kitchen, a strong brew of coffee steaming at her side, contemplating how to share the news with Max and Sophie. Each moment with them brought back laughter and support, and she wanted to channel all that warmth into her conversation today. With deep breaths, she resolved to invite them to help shape their family's future. "Kids!" she called, hoping to pull them out of their slumber. A few moments later, Sophie stumbled into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes, and Max followed close behind. Their hair was tousled, and Jane fighting a smile as she caught sight of their sleepy faces. "Good morning. I have something important to talk about." Both children perked up, curiosity shining in their eyes. "Are we going to build something?" Sophie asked, half awake and fully optimistic. "Kind of," Jane replied, trying to keep a light tone. "But instead of blocks, we're going to build our future together." As their faces tilted with intrigue, she continued. "I met with Mr. Arthur last night about the new opportunity he wants to transform our town, and I think it could actually help us." "What do you mean?" Max asked, brows furrowing with confusion. "Transform it? Arthur believes we could focus on community development, creating jobs, changing lives, ours included. If we succeed, I might even be able to help pay for those braces you want, Lily." She held her breath, searching their faces for signs of apprehension or excitement. Sophie exchanged glances with Max. "But is it going to mean we leave our home?" Her soft question felt like a pebble thrown into a pond, the ripples spreading uncertainty. "I don't want to leave our home," Max echoed, fists clenched, his shoulders tense. "But if we move, I'll miss my friends." "No one's saying we have to leave just for a new opportunity," Jane assured, leaning forward, her eyes earnest. "I want to create better chances for us, not tear us apart. But we need to figure this out together." Sophie looked at her mom, hope flickering. "Can we see new houses? Just like we see new planets in our ship?" she asked, and Jane felt a swell of pride, love filling every corner of her heart. "Yes, sweetie. We could look for a new place together. But I want to ask you something more important. How much do you both think this means for us?" Jane searched their eyes, wanting to show them they had a role in this journey. Max considered it for a moment, finally sharing tentatively, "As long as you're happy, Mom, maybe a change could be okay." Jane's heart soared, a wave of certainty washing over her. "It's not just about me, it's all of us. We can build a new home, together. An adventure." She clasped her hands together, presenting the plan like a challenge made of love. "Okay. Together." Sophie cheered, nudging her brother, who reluctantly smiled at Jane's proposal. With that, time stood still, the trio shared laughter and possibilities, and they spent the day turning their imaginations into something tangible. They began sketching designs for their dream home, bright rooms filled with sunlight and laughter. As dusk descended, filled with excitement, Jane received another message from Arthur, asking for a meeting to discuss the next steps. The familiar flutter of anxiety stirred within her. That night, with the kitchen table cluttered with sketches, she stood close to her kids, realization blossoming like spring flowers in her heart. What if we brought him into our plans? He can be part of our community too. Maybe even come visit us at our new home. Sophie's eyes twinkled with mischief. "Can we bake him some muffins?" "Absolutely," Jane responded, feeling lighter than air. The fear began to melt away, replaced with a vibrant hope. This wasn't just her journey, it belonged to everyone she loved. They held hands before beginning to prepare for tomorrow's meeting, affirming their bond through this venture. The following day, the sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the kitchen with possibility. Jane had never felt more confident in taking a step forward into the unknown. She processed through her worries, realizing that their memories, their bond, would follow them wherever they went. With the kids on her side, they drove to meet Arthur. In the car, filled with laughter and enthusiasm, Jane glanced in the rearview mirror, taking in her kids' innocent smiles. The road ahead felt endless, filled with their best adventures yet. As they arrived at the cafe, Jane felt a grounding sense of purpose. This meeting wasn't just about turning a profit, it was about building a community, a home for her family and others. Sitting at the table, with her children by her side, Jane turned to Arthur, her heart optimistic. "I want to do this together with you and for my family. Let us create something that supports our community while keeping my family together." Arthur leaned back, impressed, the light in his eyes radiating encouragement. "I couldn't agree more. Family and community strengthen each other." As they moved forward into talks, Jane's heart sang. She knew with conviction that change could be beautiful, and together, they could build the future they all dreamed of. The weighing doubts that had once held her back now transformed into empowerment. After the meeting, she glanced at her children, who also beamed with excitement about the possibilities. This was more than an opportunity. It was their chance to thrive together, to explore new places, even find their new adventure-filled home. In that moment, Jane felt a radiant smile cross her face and knew, without a doubt, that she had forged a path into a bright, beautiful future. With hearts united, they were ready to take flight into their grandest adventure. YET.so. If you're with us on this journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for these incredible stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the magic alive. Comment below to share your thoughts and feelings about Jane's amazing transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring journey. Together, we can build a vibrant community. Let us do this.